mentioned that I mentioned that I wanted to make certain that we could get acquainted, and we are now at our official start of our session. Hey everyone, this is our Senior Advisor webinar series featuring the session on fostering club success with the benefits of moments of truth. I am your facilitator, your past district director of District 103 Toastmasters, Cassandra, Diva of Dialogue Lee. I'm known as the Diva of Dialogue because I use divine inspiration vocally applied to educate and empower audiences toward personal growth and career success. In today's session, I'll be making certain that for all officers, all club leaders, and all members, we are understanding the idea of the moments of truth, which is a tool that we can use for better success of our clubs. The purpose of this session, and I say the purpose of the series, actually, as you know, the D103 Senior Webinar Series has been going on now for a little over 2 years. And each year the topics will change. Each session there's a different focus. The overall series itself, though, is intended to be a collection of live webinar events that are designed for you, the member, the leader of the club, the leader of the district, to make certain that you have what you need in making your club environments, as well as your areas, divisions, and the district much more successful. A lot of the topics that I personally facilitate will focus on this year in particular: member retention, member recruitment, club quality, as well as leadership skills with a touch of personal growth. Every time we're in these sessions for approximately 90 minutes. These sessions are intended to be interactive, which means you will have the opportunity to use reaction icons. We may use polls in the chat box, the whiteboard, and use other features of Zoom in order to make certain that you have the ability to communicate. If you're here and this is your first time engaging in this process, I think you'll get a lot out of it. Yet we really make it a little bit longer than a typical training, simply because we get the opportunity to explore the content more, interact with our fellow participants, as well as you get the opportunity to ask your questions and have answers provided to you while we're here in session. Overall, that is the purpose of the Senior Advisor webinar series. Yet the focus of today, the purpose of today's session, is to focus on the moments of truth. We're going to cover in our 90 minutes together the standards, challenges, as well as best practices related to the moments of truth. Standards, there are 6 of them. I didn't make these up. These actually come from Toastmasters International. For those of you that are familiar with the moments of truth, you are very familiar also with the 6 standards. We'll look more closely at those standards, where you will have the opportunity to figure out if it's a strength for your club, if it's a challenge area for your club, and if it is a challenge area, what can be done to improve it. Speaking of challenges, we will use a worksheet, a handout. Approximately 7 minutes ago, a little bit more than 7 minutes now, I emailed to everyone the handout. You might have downloaded it when you registered for the session. Yet if you check your email, I sent an email with the different handouts. There are about 3 of them. The first one will be the primary handout for this session. That is the one that we'll use that can help to expose to you the challenge areas of your club as it relates to the 6 standards of the moments of truth. That handout also provides best practices, recommendations for some of the potential solutions, or I should say recommendations on some of the potential problems that your club may have to overcome. Those different issues that come up within your club that needs a resolution, that handout provides some of them. Yet while we're in session, we will make sure that we add to some of those challenge areas, especially if there is not a specific recommendation listed. Overall, those are the core areas that we'll cover while we're together today. Be prepared to turn on cameras, be on microphone, be able to ask those questions and share your information. You will also be in breakout rooms, which means that you'll have the opportunity to partner with a few of the individuals in session with you today. Now, I like to say, as we go throughout this particular segment, there are a few pointers to keep in mind. The first pointer that I want you to keep in mind is when it comes to using the moments of truth, it is really important that you get your club members, your club leaders, everyone participating with the moments of truth. What I provided to you today with the handouts and the resources, I got them directly from Toastmasters International. You are more than welcome to use the ones that I sent to you, or you can pull them from Toastmasters International. Yet when you conduct the moments of truth for your club, get everyone involved. If you have guests in the room, they can be involved in the process as well. Moments of Truth with the 6 standards are a real eye-opening resource that allows you to know more about your clubs from the perspectives of your members, your leaders, and even your guests. Therefore, get everyone participating with it. Another pointer that I recommend is to practice. Practice using the information that your moments of truth reveals. Some of the pointers, some of the recommendations that are provided inside of moments of truth, you're going to find that we can't do it overnight. It will require that we put it into practice. We work it for a couple of weeks, a couple of months, and sometimes even for a few years before you start to see real results. Yet don't test it out once and throw it away. Test it, make modifications, yet put it into practice. The recommendations, the moments of truth helps to reveal for your club. Speaking of practice, recognize progress. As I mentioned with practicing, it is not going to happen overnight. You may find that you have to put into weeks or put into a plan for a length of months in order to make certain that you can begin to see the results that you're looking for. Yet if you stay the course, if you focus on the plan, and again, part of the plan is what the moments of truth reveals for your club. If you focus on what those recommendations are, you'll find that you will make progress with what you're doing with making your club a better environment. And last but not least, be patient. Over the years that I've used the Moments of Truth resource with my home club, the Wrightwood Ashburn Overcomers Way Out Toastmasters Club, what I found for me personally is that I've had to be patient. Some of the recommendations that come from the Moments of Truth, as I said before, may not make an immediate change overnight. Yet I've had to be patient with myself. I've had to be patient with the membership at large. I've also had to be patient with my fellow leaders. Once we do the Moments of Truth and it reveals what you can do differently, it's a process to put that all into practice. You will have progress, of course, yet you may need to have patience with yourself, with your fellow officers, and with your fellow members as everyone participates in making the Moments of Truth a part of your environment. As we move through what you learn in this webinar about Moments of Truth, I want you to keep those pointers in mind. Now that you have insight about why we're here and what this seminar series is all about, let's go ahead and get started with what we're going to do today. This is an opportunity for you to use the chat box. Let me know, are you familiar with the TI, Toastmasters International Moments of Truth, otherwise known as an MOT? So Wanda, I now can add the POT to the MOT and the COT. Yeah, let me know inside of the chat box, everyone. Are you already familiar with the Moments of Truth? Meaning, have you done one before? Have you been exposed to it before? Have you led a session for your club with the before? You can let me know a Y for yes or an N for no inside of the chat box. Thanks. I'm liking what I'm seeing come in. I'm seeing some yeses, I'm seeing some nos. Great. Therefore, for some of you, this is going to be a refresher. For others of you, you'll be learning it for the first time. Yet for everyone, you'll find that you can use this for the benefit of your club. Let me ask you, before we start to dive in, are there any specific questions about the MOT or the moments of truth? And you can feel free to unmute your microphone to ask your question verbally, or you can type your question right inside of the chat box. If by chance, who leads it? Great question. Who leads the moment of truth typically depends upon the club. The president can be the individual that leads the moments of truth session. Sometimes you'll find the vice president of education or the VPE will lead the moments of truth session. Other times it could be the VPM or the vice president of membership. Again, it really depends. And I'll tell you what else. Who else, I should say, your area director, your division director, or even a district guest speaker can come in and lead the moments of truth, meaning the moments of truth, who facilitates it for your club doesn't have to be limited to the officers of your club. I remember when we were in the traditional program, the Moments of Truth workshop was one of those workshops that gave members the opportunity to obtain an advanced communication and or an advanced leader award. Therefore, a lot of times club officers were leading the moments of truth, and it wasn't typically the president, VPE, and VPM. Sometimes you had the secretary, the sergeant at arms, or even the VPPR, Vice President of Public Relations, leading the session. Yet that was a great question. Who leads it? And you notice I gave a variety of responses. It really depends. It depends upon who you can get to facilitate it. Yet you can start in your club first, go with your top 3 officers. If there's another officer who wants to expand their speaking skills, they can facilitate it. You may have a seasoned member in your club, a DTM member, of course, who can lead that for you as well. And then, as I mentioned before, outside club leaders, such as your area director, your division director, or a district leader can lead that session for you as a guest speaker. Great question. And I'm simply scrolling through the chat box to make certain I'm not missing any others. Awesome. If by chance you are all good and you don't have any other questions, give me a reaction icon, anyone that you feel free to use. A lot of times I see the thumbs up, I'll see the heart, I'll see what I call the ta-da, or I like to call the celebrate icon. Good. So I'm seeing those thumbs up come in. Thank you so much. We are now then positioned to move on to the standards. As we begin to look at, or I should say, the benefits, as we begin to look at the benefits of moments of truth, before we get to the standards, I want you to know what those key benefits are. Remember, I said Toastmasters International created this program. Moments of Truth is one of the standard programs that officers and clubs can use to really do a review of the quality of the club. There are 3 key benefits that are provided to us from doing a Moments of Truth. The first benefit is the fact that the Moments of Truth is your guide. It's going to serve as your guide for delivering quality service and outstanding member experiences. Your club once a year being able to conduct a Moments of Truth helps your club to understand the progress you're making from year to year with the various standards. It will also help you with quickly figuring out some of the challenges that are impeding your ability to deliver quality service. Regular use of the Moments of Truth can definitely make certain that you're delivering quality service and outstanding member experiences. And that's why the number 1 benefit is that Moments of Truth, or the MOT, is a guide. The second benefit of the Moments of Truth is that it's a tool. It's a tool that enables sustained club quality through guided evaluation and targeted recommendations. In the Toastmaster environment, we are very familiar in this environment with providing evaluations, giving recommendations, providing individuals with feedback. Moments of Truth is your evaluation, your recommendation, and feedback of your club environment. Using this as a tool, as it says here, helps to sustain club quality. Quality clubs help members to grow. Members who grow become effective communicators, speakers, and leaders. Is your club environment providing that club quality right now? Well, today when we do the Moments of Truth, you will receive that guided evaluation with targeted recommendations to make certain that it does. Here is the third benefit of using the Moments of Truth. When you are able to use the Moments of Truth, clubs that successfully exemplify the MOT are having members who are in environments that are seen as safe, supportive, and where they can achieve their goals. Your Moments of Truth analysis will make certain that your members are in a comfortable space in which they can grow into the speakers, the leaders that they desire to be. Again, it's a tool, it's a resource, it's a guide, yet it's providing you with targeted recommendations that you can use for the benefit of all of your members who attend your meetings. I would even add all of your members and your guests who attend your meeting. Now, let me know what thoughts, what comments, or what questions do you have now that you know the benefits of using the Moments of Truth. If you have any thoughts, comments, or questions, feel free to go ahead and unmute the microphone. You can verbally speak, or you're more than welcome to type inside of the chat box your question. If by chance, though, you find that you're all good and you don't have any questions, let me know inside of the chat box, all good, or AG for short. My niece who lives in Missouri, we were having a conversation yesterday and she said, "Auntie, you're still using cool beans. Oh, I wish you would get rid of cool beans." I was like, listen, that's my favorite phrase. So she asked me if I was using all good. And I told her, I said, I do from time to time remember to use all good. That was her replacement phrase for me to get rid of cool beans. But I told her I love cool beans. That's what I go with. Yet we're practicing the AG. So the next time she talks to me, I can say, after I spoke with you on Saturday, I finally used the AG again, or the all good. Thank you, everyone, for letting me know you are all good. You don't have any questions on those benefits. I was ready to move you into the standards. And this is the perfect moment in which to get into the standards right now. Thank you. CB for cool beans. That is so true. We sure can. Yes. So we'll test that out as well, but I won't tell her that I was testing out cool beans. She'll go, Auntie, get rid of it. Yeah, here we are now in the segment for the standards. This is also where the handout will come in handy. Now, before I start looking at the standards, I think it's best that I double check with you. Let me know inside of the chat box if you do have the handout for the Moments of Truth. And I believe it was about 4 or 5 pages. Right now, I'm taking a look at it in the PDF version on my screen. Technically, it's an 8-page document. Oh, good, good. I'm seeing the yeses come in. As I mentioned, I emailed it to make it easier for you to be able to have access to it. Therefore, if you want to look at it on your screen as I'm doing, or if you wanted to print it out and have it more accessible, you can do that as well. Great. As I'm reviewing the chat box, it appears that everyone has access to it. Awesome. This is the segment where you will have an opportunity to look more at the 6 standards of the Moments of Truth. The handout walks us through each of these standards. Now, what I'm going to do first is simply do a brief overview of all 6. Then we're going to look at each standard individually, and we'll use the handout when we're looking at the standards individually. Yet first, I want you to know what those moments of truth standards are. The first standard incorporates first impressions. There are 6 standards related to first impressions. Then we move into the category of membership orientation. There are also 6 standards for membership orientation. From there, we look at the 6 standards of fellowship, variety, and communication. Lengthy title, which gives the indication there are several different standards related in this category, yet fellowship, variety, and communication is one of the standard areas that we'll review to see how your club is doing. From there, we move into program planning and meeting organization. Pretty self-explanatory with what content we'll review, yet the idea is with program planning and meeting organization, we'll see if you're really meeting the 6 standards related to that category. The 5th category is membership strength. Membership strength will also have 6 standards associated with it. Speaking of associated with it, number 6, that 6th category of achievement recognition, will also have 6 standards related. Technically, there are 36 standards in the moments of truth, 36 standards where they fall underneath the 6 categories of first impressions, membership orientation, fellowship, variety, and communication, program planning and meeting organization, and finally, membership strength along with achievement recognition. I mentioned we would look at them from an overview perspective. Now let's look at them individually. Standard number 1 is the standard of first impressions. Does anyone know the phrase or the quote that talks about first impressions, the number of seconds that it takes to make a first impression? Does anyone remember what that number was? Was it 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 15 seconds? Does anyone remember? Well, I'm asking you because I can't remember. That's why I'm asking. Yet I remember there was a quote about first impressions. There's so many seconds it takes to make a first impression. Well, whether it's 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 15 seconds to make a first impression, remember your club makes a first impression on your guests. This standard gives you the opportunity to find out more about your club from the guest perspective. Notice that it says it is important to club success because guests' positive experiences and observations determine whether they will return and become members. First impressions, good Solomon, thank you, is 7 seconds. 7 seconds, yes, 7 seconds you have to look good. Thanks to Sean. Yes, 7 seconds to look good in the eyes of your guests. Now, remember, first impressions is more in alignment with your guests, what your guests think about your club within those first few moments that they attend a meeting. Currently, most of the clubs are doing either all virtual or a hybrid combination. Whether they walk into the physical location for a hybrid meeting or they join your Zoom room session or meetup group session or not meetup, what are they? Teams right now, and WebEx. Not everyone is using the Zoom platform. Therefore, whichever platform you're using. And speaking of platforms, how easy is it for them to access your platform in a virtual environment? How easy is it for them to enter the physical location of your meeting space? All of those add to first impressions. Now, let's take a look at the handout. I say here, page 2 of the handout, and that must be PDF page 2 if you're looking at it in the electronic version. I want you to take a moment to check off all of the standards that apply to your club. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I'm moving myself over to the handout. That way I can see it right along with you. You're using a scale here. I say, did I say check off all that apply? Yeah, I said check them off because I think the check mark is easier, but let's follow the handout the way that it says because I'm liking the number range. Let's do this. You'll notice at the top of the page, PDF page 2, page number 2 in the handout, it gives you the rating scale of 1 through 5. 1 represents we never meet this standard at all. There are 6 standards for first impressions. Do you meet those? If you never meet any of them, rate that standard as a number 1. If it's a 2, that means that you rarely meet the standard. Give it a 2 if you rarely meet the standards. Give it a 3 if you sometimes meet that standard. Sometimes meeting the standard is a 3. So that means, notice as we're going up the scale, you can give yourself a higher point if you're touching that standard at some way, if you're representing that standard in some way, shape, or form. Now remember, numbers 4 and 5, the rating scale of 4 and 5 also exists. You will give yourself a 4, give your club a 4 if we usually meet this standard. And finally, you'll use the number 5 if we always meet the standard. As you're looking at the handout, and I'm adjusting some things so I can see the 6 standards myself. First impressions, remember, is the first category of standards. We have guests are greeted warmly and introduced to officers. What's your number for that one? Is it a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, or a 5? The next standard is guest book and name tags are provided. Recognize that one is representing more of the face-to-face. Yet, if you're making sure that in your virtual environments, members are recognized by first and last name, or first and last name and title, or title, first name and last name, meaning in the Zoom, in the virtual platform, if guests can get on and know who members are, who know who people are, then mark that one. And one other idea I have with this one too, especially with the virtual environment, although it says guest book and name tags, in the virtual environment, there are some members who literally are still wearing their name badges. As a matter of fact, in my club meeting yesterday, one of our members said, hey, we've gotten away from wearing our name badges because we've been online for the last year. I think we need to go back to wearing our name badges. And also someone else mentioned the name badge can be a way to raise funds for the Treasury. Members who don't wear their name badge have to donate some money to the Treasury. Now, I'm not sure if we'll go that route. Yet it was an interesting comment about the name tags. Even though we are virtual, a lot of members have name badges, pins, membership pins, pathways pins, some type of identifying tool that will let a guest know they are a member. Are your members of your club using name tags or making certain their virtual name, first and last name appears? Rate that category as you need to. Now, I paused on number 1 and 2. I know there are 4 others to go. What I need to do right now is simply become silent. I want to make certain that I give you some space to review this. And I'm also going to review the chat box as I see comments are coming in. That's a very good point. These standards don't seem to follow what is happening in a virtual format. Very good point. Yes. Yes, like the professionally arranged meeting room, virtual, right? We're virtual. So how would that be professionally arranged? I would translate, is the Zoom sessions being professionally managed? Meaning, do you have a dedicated member who can serve as your Zoom host or your Zoom master? So that's how I would look at that one. Go ahead, Robin. I hear your microphone is open.
Sorry, it wasn't.
No
I just
problem.
got bumped off and I came back on. Sorry about that.
That's okay. That is no problem. Yes. Convenient meeting location. The way I would translate that one for the virtual environment is, can members and guests easily find your Zoom meeting information? If they went to your website, is that information easily accessible on the website? If they have to register for your information, can they conveniently locate that virtual information? Again, great comment about these standards under first impressions not really being related to the virtual environment. Yet because we've been in the virtual environment for so long now, we can adapt some of these. Let me look at the final two to see how we can adapt these if needed. The final two, guests invited to address the club. Oh, I think that one can stay exactly the same. If you give members, or I should say, if you give guests the opportunity to address your members, that's good to know. And guests invited to join, if you're doing that, give your club a high rating as well. Yeah, Deshaun, go ahead and unmute and take the floor.
Okay, I was going to ask, isn't that, and you've seen it sometime, I forgot the name of it. Is it Improv or something like that that you click on and view if you are the host and you get a chance to use up to 32 people, but it looks like they're all in a classroom together, or it's only 10 people, they're all in a certain place, so that you could see each other in a different way than these squares. And maybe that may be a way to communicate with different people, or even breakout rooms for new people that come in, so you can go ahead and talk to them.
Interesting. Now, Dushan, are you referring to the immersive view?
Immersive
view? Yeah,
Thank
the
you.
immersive view of
Immersive view.
Zoom. Yeah, the
Yes.
immersive view of Zoom. Let me see if I can do that. I'm not sure if I can do that right
just
now.
choose view. Yeah, choose view and immersive.
Okay. I am thinking, is that under
View.
It's view? Oh, okay. It's under view. Gotcha. No, here's where I'm asking. Do I go to my image to click that, or am I going to the video icon? Where am I going for that?
No, you go to the view at the top of the screen where it says standard, side by side, and you choose the view, and right there when you choose view, it shows immersive.
Gotcha. Okay. Perhaps it's because I'm sharing the screen in this moment, I'm not seeing it, but I will play around with that. Yeah, that's okay. That is okay. That was good. I was testing it out in the moment. I'm not seeing it right now, yet that is something to see, to do. And I like the fact that you brought that up. Let me go back over to the handout, because as you were saying, the view of the room, so convenient meeting location, no, here we go, professionally arranged meeting room. Immersive view would be an option for the professionally arranged meeting room, as opposed to everyone, like you said, looking at the boxes. They have the speaker view, they have the gallery view. Well, the immersive view puts everybody in a gallery view setting, but sometimes they look like they're all on a spaceship, or they're in a classroom, or they're in a boardroom, whatever the image is that's selected. And everyone's faces, if they're on camera, or image, if it's a photo, are in those little seats. Like the lecture hall, I was in a session and everyone was inside of the lecture hall, and we were sitting, in the lecture room, and that was a different view. So thank you for bringing that up. That's a different option for virtual. Yes, good. All right. Everyone all good with marking your numbers? Cool beans. Thank you for that. Awesome. Okay, I paused on first impressions because I wanted to read through all 6 of those elements to see which ones needed to be modified based on the comments that were coming in. And you were right, they don't quite fit right now, the virtual environment, yet we know we're flexible, we are adaptable, and that's exactly what we did with some of those standards. We see how we can translate it into a virtual environment and still give our clubs high ratings on those categories. Let's go to the next standard. Standard number 2, membership orientation. This particular standard is the standard that offers members the greatest benefit from the Toastmasters experience. This is where your club must acquaint your new members with the Toastmasters education and recognition programs. And this is also where your club acquaints your new members and help to make them aware of the club's responsibility to them and their responsibility to your club. Does that somewhat sound like the moments of truth, or I should say it's on the tip of my tongue and I'm losing it. The 10 standards, back of the membership application, Toastmasters Promise. There we go. This is tying into the Toastmasters Promise. Take a look at your handout, the membership orientation category. The membership orientation category has 6 standards. We're still using the same scale. 1, we never use it. 2, we rarely meet it. 3, we sometimes meet it. 4, we usually meet this standard. And 5, we always meet this standard. What's your rating for formal induction, including presentation of membership pins and manuals? What rating do you give your club on that? I'm going across this time. Look at discussed accommodations for members with disabilities. If you have members with disabilities, have you discussed that with the members? In my home club, we have 3 individuals who are blind. Each of them required something different. Each of them still have differences in how we accommodate their needs. There might be a few techniques that are the same, yet we've had to tailor our connection with each of those members based on their specific requests. Yet have you had that conversation with your members with disabilities? And if so, you can give your club a rating that's high on that for that one. Look at the rating for assignment of a mentor. What would you give your club on assigning mentors to your members? Also, what would be your rating for the speaking roles being assigned? Is your club one of the clubs where table topics is the only thing that can be done because no one is signing up for speaking roles? Or is your club the type of club where you have to fight to get a speaking role in your meeting? Or is your club somewhere in between? Therefore, what's your rating for assignment of mentor? And what is your rating for speaking roles being assigned? Again, use that scale of 1 through 5. A few more standards are still connected with membership orientation. Think about the rating your club deserves to have for education programs and recognition system discussed. Now, what that means is your club officers are not the only ones that know about these standards of the Distinguished Club Program or the levels of pathways and all of the pathways awards. Your members know it too. If your club is doing a great job with communicating the Distinguished Club Program, the education awards, the various levels of pathways to all of your members on a regular basis, go on the higher end of the rating scale and give your club one of those numbers. Yet if you're not, go on the lower end. Now take a look at members involved in all aspects of club activities. Members involved in all aspects of club activities. Now that one could give you a clue of if it's all on one person or if you have leaders in the club that are taking on certain responsibilities. And even it gives you a clue if you have members that you've really never seen participate in anything other than table topics in your club environment. So this standard has a range of thoughts here, yet on average, what would be the score that you give to the category of member involved in all aspects of club activities? And finally, you're giving a rating, a score to learning needs being assessed, meaning the vice president of education typically and/or the vice president of membership whether jointly or individually, those officers are making sure they get the learning needs or the goals of the members identified and understood. How's that for your club? Now, so far I've walked you through 2 of the standards, and I've literally talked about each of them and given some different ideas. Yet now what I want to do is to give you the opportunity to complete the rest of the handout on your own. You can move through this handout much faster than me reading through everything and making adjustments along the way. Yet here's how I would like for us to take the time. Pages 2 and 3, I should say, have the remaining 6 standards. I am going to give you the opportunity to take at least 7 minutes of complete silence to work through the rest of the standards. If by chance there's one that comes up that you have a question about, you can simply chat me inside of the chat box. Let me know inside of the chat box which one you have a question about, or it will be faster. Go ahead and unmute and speak, because you know what sometimes happens. The question you have is the same question someone else has. Therefore, as you're working through this, if you come across a standard in which you have a question about, feel free to unmute, ask your question, and then you can go back to providing the rating. However, I want you to finish rating your club in the categories of fellowship, variety, and communication at the bottom of page 2. Then move over to page 3. Still use the scale of 1 through 5. Rate the categories of program planning and meeting organization, membership strength, and achievement recognition. I will be silent for 7 minutes. I'll give you a couple of signals to let you know how many minutes are left. If you are done before the 7 minutes are up, you can type inside of the chat box for me that you are done. Until that time though, like I said, I'll be here, I'll be silent, I'll be off camera, and I will give you that space to continue to walk through the ratings. How is your club doing? See how many 4s and 5s you can get, and also see where those 1s and 2s show up. I'll see you back in 7 minutes, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. You did a fantastic job with being able to use that time. As I mentioned, me talking you through every one of those standards, we had about 24 of them left, 4 different categories, about 6 items with each. It would have taken forever and a day for that, right? Yet I think you were able to walk through and find out for yourself what those ratings were for each of those categories. And before I move you into the next part of this process, let me touch bases with you though and ask a question. Were you able to finish the ratings of those remaining 4 categories? If you were, inside of the chat box, type a Y for me for yes. Let me know a no if you were not. And I appreciate those of you that gave me the done phrase inside of the chat box. Great, thank you. Wonderful. I'm looking at all the responses of yes, you were able to walk through, get finished. Your ratings are all there. Good. Now, here's another question that I have for you. Use the chat box for me for this. Let me know. Did you find from all 6 of those categories, did you find that your club actually had scores that were on both sides of the scale, meaning you had 1s and or 5s show up? Let me know if you had a range of numbers, or were your numbers on one end? So either say range if you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5s show up throughout, or let me know if it was one end, meaning there were more 4s and 5s, or there were more 1s and 2s. So type range or one end. Cool, no problem. One end, good. One end, yes. Awesome. One end, one end, one end. Okay, arrange. Awesome. This again, no right or wrong answers. This is a reflection of your club. Now, let me find out, are you in need of an answer to a question that came up while you were doing this activity? If so, unmute your microphone and speak your question. That way we can hear what your question is, because as I said before, questions you have, other people may have as well. If you have a question that you need to have an answer to, let me know. And of course, if you're all good, you can say AG inside of the chat box as well. Good. Thank you for those all goods coming in. Okay. Now, this is the opportunity where I am going to give you and a few partners a chance to have a conversation with each other in a breakout room. Notice that the instructions here for you to look at the overall moments of truth assessment that you did, the ratings where you found you rated that category either a 3 or below. I want you to think about what caused that particular item to be rated low. Answer for yourself what you think can be done to improve that rating. And finally, identify who you think can be responsible for that solution. Now, this is what you're providing your feedback to your partner on when you're inside of the breakout room. Breakout rooms will have partners, and we are going to actually have teams of 2, which will give you the chance to actually work with each other with a little bit more of the time to be able to maximize the time that you'll be in the breakout rooms. So what I want you to be able to do, again, is answer the questions. Which of the items, and you don't have to tell all the ones that might be rated low. So let me put a disclaimer on that. Choose 1 or 2 that you are able to figure out, I know exactly why this is rated low. This is what caused it to be rated low. This is what I think we as a club can do to improve it. And the individual or the officer that I think could be responsible for helping to improve it is, and you would share that information to your partner. I'm going back over right now to our handout. I want to make certain that I take a look at the handout because I want to give you more of a specific, and I'm just picking a random category here. Let me move some things out of my way. That way I can see. I'm looking at membership strength, standard number 5, membership strength. The one item that I'm looking at for sure is members are retained. Members are retained. Well, if in my club, if this was an area that was rated low, and actually, let me look at one from this category where it is rated low. Toastmasters sponsoring new members recognized. My club, the Wrightwood Ashburn Overcomers Way Out Toastmasters Club, does really good on retaining members. So we would give that, I would give that more or less a 4 or a 5. Yet what I would give a 1 or a 2 in this category is the Toastmasters sponsoring new members being recognized. I have no clue if any of my members are really asking guests to become members, because sometimes when new members applications are submitted, a member's name isn't listed there. Sometimes I get the opportunity to ask, other times the membership application is processed without that question being asked. So I would rate this as an inconsistency, and I would rate this as a 2 for my club. Well, in the breakout room, I would share with my partner, this is the one and it's rated a 2. What I think is the problem here, or what I think is creating the issue with this one, is that members don't realize that they should be making sure new members' application lists them as the encourager of the guest becoming a member of the club. That members should be told to make certain that when a guest becomes a new member, make sure their name is on that new member application. Who do I think would be responsible for that? Well, as VPE of my club, I would be one of the people. Yeah, I would ask that all of the members be responsible for that. So an initial announcement would come from me as the VPE to the executive committee, and then I would have the president of the club make an announcement during the club business meetings. And I would also have the vice president of membership see where he or she can work that information in as well. So I think it would be a team approach as to how that issue could be resolved. I wanted to walk through the handout and give you an idea of what I mean by this activity inside of the breakout room. As I said, you and your partner will be in the breakout room. You'll have an opportunity to work with each other in your breakout room for approximately 6 minutes. While you're together, you're just choosing one. Notice I chose one. Choose one. If you have time to give a second one, you can, but choose one. One of the most important ones that you think, if you focus on this one this year, you can start to see some changes in your club environment. I want you to make sure that you can have that opportunity to share. And my brain is running fast. I'm doing 3 things at one time here. So I'm reviewing what your instructions are again, and that is look at your ratings, choose one that's rated 3 or below. Think about how you can improve that. Share that with your team member, how you can improve it. Make sure with your team member that you also let them know who you think can be responsible for changing that. So who do you think can be responsible for changing that? Now, as opposed to all the teams being teams of 2, I'm actually making some modifications here to the breakout room. Some of our teams are going to be teams of 3, and other teams will be teams of 2. What I'm going to give you the opportunity to do, team members, is to share with each other within 6 minutes. Now, if you end up having 3 people in your room, that's about 2 minutes a member in the breakout, yet you will have the chance to have that conversation. You will see in a moment an invitation to join your breakout room pop up. Once that comes up, go ahead and accept the invitation. I will start the timer once all members are in their breakout rooms, and then I'll send you time signals along the way. All right, everyone, there's the invitation. See you back in 6. Congratulations, everyone. You were able to take a moment to share with your partner ideas that you have for strengthening the standard that was rated low. Let me ask, what questions do you have that came up in your breakout room, or what comments would you like to make from the experience in your breakout room? Anyone in particular? Yeah, go for it, Sheila.
Hi, everybody. I'm amazed that the person in my breakout room is in the same office as I am. We're both VPs of membership. Now, how did that happen? So we had a good conversation.
Good, good. I'm glad that it worked out well. Good. Thanks, Wanda. I see your compliment to your team. Kudos to the team that worked with Wanda. Sheila gave kudos to her team as well. Any other comments that you would like to make? Yes, Robin, go ahead.
I had a great conversation with Solomon, who's a member of my club, and it really brought to attention about the need for a mentor and mentorship. And we haven't been doing that formally, but I really would like to start that with any new members that we have. Because I know the club was very welcoming when I joined, and I think it would be a good opportunity to start doing that while we're continue to be virtual.
Yes, and I was getting ready to say, Robin, it sounds as if you and Solomon picked up on the fact that this is the one standard that if we focused on this right now, we can make progress with it, and it can definitely give us some different results.
Mhm.
Yes, thank you for sharing. Go ahead, Dushan.
Yeah, my whole thing was my term stick and stay. I think that's the kind of thing we were talking about. If we bring new members in, and the people who brought them in continue to talk to them, but they don't seem to stick and stay. And that's a problem that we have all the time, even at WAYA. We bring them in, they get in, they just rip and run for the first 30 days, 60 days, and then they fade away. Well, by the time all the information gets back to the district, the people have come and gone. That's a problem.
The stick and stay. And of course, we know everything begins at the club level. If we can get them at the club level to stick and stay, which is simply an idea about retention. Once we recruit them, how can we retain them? And that's a good way of thinking about that concept, Dushan, from the standpoint of stick and stay. We want them to stay around as a member. We don't want them to be lost. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Dushan. Good. Dushan's comment, as well as Robin's comment as well, I think really ties into the ideas of best practices. Now, on your document, the handout, pages 4 and 5, let's see, I moved myself in the wrong direction. Yes, pages 4 and 5 of your Moments of Truth handout gives you recommendations that you might find beneficial if your club is dealing with some of those particular issues. Now, of course, if your club is dealing with a different issue that is not listed there, you're more than welcome to bring that issue before us today and allow us to assist with troubleshooting that. If by chance, after this session is over, you need some assistance, you can always reach out to me or anyone at the district level, like your area director or your division director, who will be able to assist you also. I'm looking here inside of the chat box. You say you like that, and we'll give it a try. You will also work with the VPPR. Yeah, to do the same. I like that. Thanks, Wanda, for your comment. Yeah, the idea of being able to stick and stay. Thoughts, comments, or questions on any of those best practices that were listed there? Or let me backtrack, let me pause. Did anyone get a chance to look at pages 4 and 5 of the best practices as you were in your session? Perhaps you did, perhaps you did. And if you didn't, that's okay. My brain is simply running fast and I'm thinking, well, how do they know if it's there if they haven't seen it, right? Thanks, Sheila, for letting me know that, yes, you did take a look at it. You did see it. Good. And of course, it's a resource page. Some of the best practices that are listed may be for issues, again, that your club has not yet experienced. And we know sometimes we say there are special circumstances that come up, and there are times when special circumstances are not listed in our different resources, which means we have to have individuals as our sounding boards to assist us with figuring those out. And I'm glad to see the yeses that came in regarding those of you that did see those best practices. And like I said, those are recommended best practices for some of the more standard problems and issues that arise. If your club is dealing with something very special, by all means, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. You're also more than welcome to connect with your area director and or your division director in order to receive some ideas on how to best resolve that challenge area. Now that we've gone through our breakout room activity, we've had the opportunity to move through the idea of this Moments of Truth. I simply want to refresh our memories on what we've done so far today. This session was all about making certain we could foster club success by using the benefits of the Moments of Truth. We did recognize as we went through what the benefits were of the Moments of Truth. It's a resource, it's a tool, it's a guided set of recommendations that can help you to improve your club. The reason you want to improve your club is to make certain that your members in the words of Dushan, can stick and stay. Or in the words of Toastmasters, they can be retained as members who will grow as speakers, leaders, and communicators. We had the opportunity through the use of the handout, which is now your forever tool. That handout gave you all 6 of the standards with their various elements broken down. You rated each of those elements and you have an idea under all 6 standards, which of those standards your club is doing better at than others. As a matter of fact, let me know. Look at your assessment again, look at that handout again. Tell me which standard or standards are your clubs doing better at than others? Which ones are the ones where your clubs are stronger? Is it fellowship, variety, and communication? Is it achievement recognition? Is it first impressions? Overall, when you look at the ratings, where do you see more of the higher ratings, like the 4s and the 5s, as opposed to the 3s and below? Where are you seeing more of the 4s and the 5s? Good, first impressions. Yeah, the first impressions. And that's a wonderful thing because that's really connecting to the guest. We want the guest to have that first impression within the first 7 seconds, according to Forbes, to have the right impression about your club. And if they have the right impression about your club within those first 7 seconds, then your guest will eventually become members who can potentially stay as members for a while. Good, I'm glad to see program planning and meeting organization on the list as well. That's good. Also, the achievements as well as the first impression. So the achievement recognition along with first impressions. Good. Yes, this is wonderful. As I'm seeing your results come inside of the chat box, I'm noticing that from the 6 standards you learned about, you also learned which of the standards in which your club is doing well. I say the ones that are more the strengths of your club. And remember, the best practices, the ways in which you can overcome them. I had you talk through with your partner what the challenge area was, along with what you think caused that challenge area, as well as who could be responsible for improving upon that challenge area. In a lot of the instances, is going to rely upon a particular officer, the entire executive committee, and or the entire membership body. Therefore, as you're looking at different resources or different solutions to these issues that you're resolving, make certain that you don't go at it alone. Remember that the best practices are meant to be used by all your members because everyone is in this together. Wasn't that a High School Musical theme song? We're all in this together. Anyhow, I'm having a sidebar moment. Thanks for also putting in membership orientation as another one of the areas of strength. Good. Yes, wonderful. Now, tell me inside of the chat box, and as we're closing out in our final moments, I'm curious to know, what is something that you learned from this session that you will implement in your club this year? Notice I didn't say next meeting. I said within this year, within this club year. What is one thing that you learned from Moments of Truth? And Robin, I'm thinking back to what you said. I would imagine the mentor idea that you mentioned is right there at the top of the list. Yeah, and I see that smile in the head nod. Thanks for confirming that. Everyone else, what do you think that you might put into practice? And I'll pause for a moment. And of course, if you would feel better speaking it, that's perfect. All right. That's perfectly okay as well. You can do that too. Good. I'm seeing the responses come inside of the chat box. Being creative in program planning. I like that. That's something that's definitely doable within the club year. I also see using the moments of truth to involve the membership and do it as an ongoing basis. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and I like that idea of doing it on an ongoing basis too. I remember when my club, we first started using it in 2010. That's the very first time I can remember doing it. And our area director facilitated it for us. We learned so much in 2010 from that area director facilitating it that the following year, we had a club officer facilitate it. And then from 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, on up until about 2016, we did the Moments of Truth every single year as a special educational workshop where all the officers and the members and guests participated. We learned so much and we modified some of our processes because of what Moments of Truth revealed for us. Therefore, thank you again for saying on an ongoing basis. I also appreciate seeing inside of the chat box here doing inter-club events. That would be something that you can do this year. Yes, I know area directors lead or manage several clubs. They will be a great resource for you to find out what other clubs are in your area and meet with those clubs and do different events. I remember hearing in the South Division, a set of clubs did socials together. That was awesome. Yet you can do meetings too. Yeah, let me start with Dushan. Go ahead.
No, oh, I just put my piece in there about retention. I'm sorry. Really wasn't.
That's okay. I see it. Yep, I got
Sorry.
you. Thank you for the strength. And thanks, Robin. I see your hand. Go ahead, Robin, take the floor.
Yeah. I just wanted to share our club recently. We're affiliated with Northern Trust and recently had a club meeting together with Northern Trust in India. So that was definitely a great experience. And it was held in the morning so we could accommodate each other's time zones. And it was fun. It was just fun to kind of cross cultures.
I love that. And it's still within the same company. Oh yeah, I'm loving that, within the same company, yet two different clubs. That is so awesome. Good. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah. And I'm seeing here utilizing social media tools to promote clubs membership globally. Look at this. Thinking beyond Chicago, thinking beyond District 103. And I love that comment that's coming in, Wanda. Thank you for that. It definitely complements what Robin mentioned a moment ago as well. Awesome. Well, what final questions do you have for me based on what we covered in this session about fostering club success using Moments of Truth? Anything in particular that we have not already answered? And of course, you know, you're more than welcome to go ahead and speak by microphone. You can also put inside of the chat box your question. And if you don't have any, you can say AG for all good. Thank you.
This is Sheila.
Yeah, Sheila, go ahead.
Program planning and meeting organization, where it says creative table topics and activities. We have had creative table topics in our club quite often, but what kind of activities would we have? Anybody have any suggestions?
Well, it could be different, like the social is one. Inter-club events could be another. And it doesn't, what they're really putting together there, Sheila, is creative table topics is one aspect, yet you can also do a variety of activities as well. That might,
okay.
So think of them as two separate entities as opposed to the activity being associated with table topics.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Dushan, go ahead.
I was just saying, hey, just go to a comedy club, take the take the crew to a comedy club. And what's so strange about it is that you could do evaluations. Those guys are some good speakers, they're good comedians. So can you imagine your club, they're taking evaluations of this guy, and then afterwards you go over the evaluation. That could be fun.
All right. Well, yeah, thank you, Dushan. Look at that. Comedy club, whether it's live or in person, that's another idea. I'm loving the fact that this session did give you all ideas. I would encourage you, especially all of you who are leaders, go to your club leadership handbook. That is a wealth of information for you. You continuously review the moments of truth with your members, with your officers, and even with yourself as well. In the club leadership handbook, you may also find some other ideas about resolving any of the issues that might come up from your moments of truth revelation. Of course, reach out for assistance. As I mentioned before, if you need some help, there are those that can assist you. And most importantly, start in your club. You have smart leaders, smart members in your club. Pull them together, ask there. If you can't come up with the answer within your club, then reach out to your area director. From there, go to your division director. After that, you can go to your trio members, your extended district leadership. And of course, you can always reach out to me as well. As I started this session, I wanted to remind you about pointers. Remember to have participation from everyone involved in your club. Practice what you've been learning, because that is how you can see your progress towards the results that you're looking for. Testing something once, tweaking it, testing it again, tweaking that, and testing some more. Make certain that what you put into practice really is working. And we know sometimes it's just a matter of tweaking something slightly to make it stick. Be patient though. Moments of Truth reveals for us many times major gaps in our club quality. Those gaps didn't happen overnight, and getting that gap filled or closed won't always happen overnight either. Therefore, be patient with your members, be patient with your club leaders, and most importantly, be patient with yourself as well. Everyone, I want to thank you so much for being with me today on this session. This was one of our sessions of the Senior Advisor webinar series. This session was intended to assist you with fostering club quality with the benefits of the moments of truth. I am your past district director, current training director, distinguished Toastmaster of District 103 Toastmasters, Cassandra Diva of Dialogue Lee. And until we meet again, I am looking forward to hearing about the successes your club have within your club from using moments of truth. Everyone, thank you and take care.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Bye.